What up, everybody? It's Frank Muller, back at it again with another video today. You're watching Level Up, Double Down, where we don't play around unless it's video games. Now, if you like the type of content I make and you want to see more, like the video and subscribe to the channel. I hope I can earn your support today. So with that out the way, let's go ahead and get things started. So, I know what you're thinking. This is yet another YouTuber making a video about cheap Chinese retro handhelds from AliExpress. And you know what? Of course it is. What else would make you think otherwise? Now, due to the online craze surrounding cheap Chinese retro handhelds, I thought I'd join the fray to see what all the chatter was about. Over the years, I would observe the staggered release schedule of countless cheap Chinese retro handhelds from different brands and manufacturers. And after amassing quite a few handhelds myself, especially if you notice from the video's thumbnail, the biggest glaring issue that I found that is currently wrong with the cheap Chinese retro handheld space is their poor user experience, mainly attributed to the software implementation due to its lack of optimization and inconsistent updates, or none at all from the actual manufacturers. But what's so egregious is those same manufacturers would rely upon the community to come up with a workaround, such as a custom operating system you could consider tolerable as a means to a resolution, which tends to be the common denominator for a slew of handhelds I've encountered. There's a tendency for them to be missing quality of life features, which include standby mode, or in other words, sleep. So the moment you press the power button, it will wake up the console. Another common complaint is a terrible user interface of their firmware, which could be considered bare bones at best, plus it holds back the performance of the handheld. And don't get me started with all the duplicate games contained in the firmware that comes included on the micro SD card that's bundled with the handheld, which takes up necessary precious storage capacity. Those are your typical hangups you might go through when buying a cheap Chinese retro handheld that I could think of, but I'm pretty sure that there are plenty more of that. To give you an example, I purchased the Embernick RG35XX back in May 2023 from Temu, of all places, for $45 at the time, and the factory firmware experience on it was dog shit compared to what it is after I flashed Garlic OS on it, which is a community-supported firmware. The same thing goes for the R36S handheld, which I purchased for the first time in March 2024 from AliExpress for around $35 altogether. And I've been made aware there happens to be clones of this device floating around, and what makes it so ironic is the R36S is actually a clone of another previously released handheld, the Powkiddy RGB20S, according to Google's AI summary. Now, I've come to realize clones are commonplace when pertaining to Chinese electronics, but I doubt mine is a clone, and the seller I bought mine from doesn't come up on the list of reported compromised stores that AliExpress platforms. However, for those of you who are into retro emulation, there are some merchants on AliExpress who have been offering the R36S at dirt cheap prices. Just to give you a little bit of background about the device itself for those of you who are unaware, it's a small-scale retro handheld that contains the RK3326 chip with 1 GB of DDR3L RAM, and based on its lower power profile, according to its specs, it basically is capable of running games via emulation for older retro consoles from NES and Game Boy up to the PlayStation 1, PSP, Dreamcast, and some Nintendo DS. So recently, I purchased myself a couple of these R36S devices because I intend to repurpose them as gifts to surprise a few of my younger family members for Christmas this year. So I hope they're not watching this video. However, to my surprise, the firmware that was featured on both R36S devices actually had a popular custom operating system which was developed by the community called ArcOS, which is the same but a slightly iterative version of the custom operating system I had flashed on my R36S. So, I have a confession to make. I have a tendency to buy a lot of electronics and not even bother using them till months later due to having a number of priorities on my plate. That's one of the reasons why I created this YouTube channel, so I'm forced to actually use them before a good amount of time lapses while giving you guys something to talk about that y'all can relate to. Now that I have some time, I would like to take the opportunity to finally look at a previously released Anbernic handheld, which I purchased twice over and still hadn't gotten around to actually turning it on to play any games on it or put it through its paces to get a gauge on its performance. What I have in front of me is an Anbernic RG35XXH, and I know what you're asking yourself. Didn't this handheld come out almost 2 years ago? And my exact response to that is yes, you are correct. However, it comes with a couple of caveats, one of them being the factory firmware that comes by default on this device is substandard and mediocre to say the least. Basically, just refer back to a lot of the talking points I just mentioned earlier. This conundrum forces the user to have to flash a custom firmware that has been developed by members of the community and that has been optimized to take advantage of the hardware specs of the device, but it also offers fixes and alleviates most of the bugs that plague the factory firmware in order to improve the user experience. And the second caveat is the micro SD card that comes included with the device, which features the factory firmware, but the card itself is not reliable due to its poor build quality and is prone to failure after long-term use, so you're better off providing your own micro SD card to bypass this risk. So with that being said, what I set out to do today is go through the process of backing up the original factory firmware, then storing it for safekeeping for future reference, followed by replacing the micro SD card that came included with the device with one that's more reliant and recommended from a reputable brand. All the while going through the process of flashing the custom firmware in order to test out the capabilities of the Anbernic RG35XXH in its final form by running a variety of games from different consoles up to Generation 6. So on that note, follow me as I walk you through step by step and show you how you can do this yourself. Alright guys, so first things first, what we need to do is make a backup copy of the firmware that is contained on the micro SD card that came bundled with the retro handheld. That way, if you want to revert the handheld back to its factory condition, then we have a copy of the original firmware we can use later down the line. We need to pull out the micro SD card from the TF1 slot of the handheld and insert it into the PC using an SD card reader. Bear in mind, the SD card slot on Anbernic's handhelds have a tendency to cause SD cards to become wedged in when they're inserted, so you'll probably need some type of flat, dull-edged tool to pry it out. After connecting the SD card into your PC, open your go-to handy-dandy disk imaging cloning software. In my case, I'll be using Macron Reflect. Next, we need to image the disk, which is our micro SD card indicated by the name of the card reader that you're using. Based on the imaging cloning software that you're using, follow the instructions that you're presented with in order to initiate the imaging process, and once that process has completed, store the cloned image somewhere on your PC for safekeeping. Now, according to the install page for Newly, which is the custom firmware that we'll be using, we have to download and install a number of files in order to accommodate the new firmware installation. Based on the instructions that have been laid out, we need to download the correct image respective to our handheld device, that being the RG35XXH, alongside the latest version of Rufus, which we'll be using to flash the image onto our micro SD card. Furthermore, within the instructions, it states that several partitions will be created as a result from flashing the image onto our micro SD card, and it warns us not to format any of those partitions. However, a partition labeled share will be created, which is where we add our games to. But in order to expand the share partition, we must insert the SD card into the handheld and boot it for the first time in order to start adding games. Once the image has been completely flashed onto the micro SD card, disconnect the card reader from your PC, followed by removing the SD card from the card reader, and then insert the SD card into the TF1 slot of your handheld. After booting the handheld for the first time with the micro SD card inserted, you want to wait until Battlesera finishes with the installation process, where it's creating all the necessary folders before we can then proceed to turn off the device and add games to it. Now, in regards to scraping box art, adding subtitles, footnotes, and enabling retro achievements, etc., I didn't come here to demonstrate any of that. However, what I will do is show you a slew of gameplay footage so that you can see what your cheap Chinese retro handheld is capable of after flashing the custom operating system onto your device. All right, guys, so I just got finished adding games to my SD card. As you can see, I'm inserting it into the handheld. And just so you guys know, the games that I had added, they came from my PlayStation Classic. Let's go ahead and get this game thing started. Looky here. It's a little faster now compared to last time. Now you hear the music too. Uh-oh. See. Uh-oh. They got that Kenny G. Yeah, if you weren't born in the 90s or before, you ain't gonna know nothing about no Kenny G. Alright, so see, regular Nintendo. Alright, we're gonna do some Mario Brothers, man. You know I gotta do the old school stuff, man. Alright, there we go. There we go. Oh, wow. Okay. Get this more in view. Let's go. Oh, they got it backwards. Okay, it's all good. Oh, crap. Thank God I didn't go the other way because I already had passed the screen somewhere. Damn, 5,000. See, there we go. Figured it out. So, in order to get to the menu, you gotta do the function key, and then you gotta press B. And we're back. Super Nintendo. One of my favorite games. Smash TV. Beat this back in the day when I was a kid. I was like 8 or 10, I can't remember. This right here, man, I played this so many times. And like, this was one of the only games that we had, so shoot. I did what I could to beat it. This game got me in love with snow bunnies. Yes, sir. Gotta get all the money, gotta do checks. I hate that I'm trying to get it in camera view, but I made a mistake of mounting the camera too high from the table, so I have to hold it so that you guys can see it, but I'm trying not to move too much, you know, and I'm standing up, so there's that. This game right here, boy, I put so many hours into this when I was a kid. I still got that muscle memory to the kicking ass and taking names, baby. Try not to freaking die if I can help it. And then also try to get all as much money as I can. There we go. Bam! I'm gonna try to get to the secret room. They have one on each level. Secret room should be over here. There we go, secret room, baby. That's what I was talking about. I'd buy that $4. Big money, big prizes. I love it. Damn, I missed the last gift. Trying to get everything. Collect 4 more, baby. And then we're gonna go ahead and close. I got Game Boy Advance, so I'm gonna try that as well. Then you know what, let's try Nintendo 64. How about that? I just wanna see Diddy Kong Racing. I think I have that game on here. I should. Kong Racing. There we go, right here. See what Diddy Kong Racing looks like. Oh no! Diddy Kong Racing is not playing. You gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Diddy Kong Racing ain't working? Let me try something else. Cruising USA. If that don't work, then I'm probably gonna have to write off this handheld. Say, okay, it works. Good deal. Uh-oh. Let's see how the emulation works. Yeah. You hear that? That audio ain't too good. Yeah, I'm not having high hopes regarding this session right here. Let's do this one real quick. Alright, automatic. Yeah. The frame rate's gonna tank on this thing. I'm not really having high hopes regarding this. You see what I'm saying? Got a freaking slideshow. This is one game that is really hard to emulate on substandard hardware, and lo and behold, should go. Okay. Oh shoot. Why do they have the... Alright, whatever. It's retarded. This is retarded how they had a button set up. I can change it, but I don't feel like it. Yeah, I can't do it, man. I cannot do that. N64 is out the window, so we're gonna shut that down. One thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do Mario 64, and then I'm gonna leave it at that. And there's some kind of delay whenever I hit the quit, but it's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and try Mario 64. Okay. Alright, Mario 64 seems like it works. Okay. Cool. These joysticks, man, they don't... Because they're not what I'm used to, it's kind of hard to, you know, get a good grip. The bomb spot. Here we go. Alright, it's gonna teleport. Yeah, you see those artifacts to the side? It makes it seem like there's like some fog or frost that's like coming on the corner of the screen. Trying to not get ran over by these balls. Pause. Y'all notice that, right? The white that keeps coming in frame. All right, here we go. Right here. Bam! Yeah, give me my freaking star, bitch. Excuse my language. All right. Now, we're gonna do something else. Game Boy Advance is what I mentioned earlier. Trying to think of a hard game to emulate. Yeah, let me try Doom 2 and see if that works. And if it doesn't, then we're gonna do something else. Damn, I forgot you do gotta include the BIOS files, which I didn't think about. But hell, we're just gonna launch it and see if it works. If not, then we'll try a different system. Oh, huh, freaking work, good deal. All right, cool. New game. I didn't even know that Doom 2 came on Game Boy Advance until I started doing emulation. I'm too young to die. Hey, not too rough. Hurt me plenty. We'll just do, hey, I'm too young to die. I'm just shooting whatever, man. That suck. It's been a while since I played Doom on Super Nintendo. Alright, so we've come to establish that this game is working. I'm thinking Nintendo DS. And let's do the Mario 64. Alright, let's go ahead and make it happen. Missing BIOS file. I know. Hopefully it should work. Cool. Alright, cool. Adventure. Alright, then we're gonna do this one right here. There we go. Alright, good deal. Yeah. They did a better job at the character model too. And there's Yoshi right up the top. Just like in Mario 64 when he was at the top of the castle. Sleeping like a lazy bum that he is. Alright. Alright, and I'm sorry about the slander towards Yoshi. My fault. Oh, you gotta get the key from the rabbit. There's like a rabbit over here, but I probably have to open the door to be able to trigger that response. So let me go back to the door. Yeah, I know. I love how Yoshi's able to hover. Gotta lick him. Got him. See how easy that was? Here we go, baby. Cool. Yeah, whatever, Bowser. Cool. I'm gonna go ahead and quit this because I don't want to rehash this again like I saw me play earlier. Exit drastic. Oh wow, it's nice. Nice port of drastic. Alright, so let's do not Sega Mega Drive. I want to do Sega Saturn, see how it runs. This is gonna fail miserably, so let's see what happens. If it asks me for the BIOS, then I'll just go to my computer and get the BIOS for all those consoles. Yeah, that's what I figured. So I'm gonna come right back. I'm gonna get the BIOS for PlayStation, Dreamcast, and Sega Saturn. Alright guys, so I'm back, and I did put the Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, and Saturn BIOSes on that micro SD card. And before I came back, I decided to give this RG35XS a cosmetic upgrade. As you can see, I got the screen protector on, and I got this lovely silicone protector so it can keep it from getting dings if I drop it. But that's neither here nor there. Let's go ahead and get this thing started up again and see what kind of performance we get from all three of those console systems I just mentioned earlier. Alright, now we got the Kenny G music back on again. Let's do a few Sega Saturn games. Now, to be honest, I didn't grow up on Sega Saturn. I was still on the N64 at the time, and Sega Saturn was a short-lived gaming console anyway. So we're gonna go ahead and do Daytona USA Championship. What the hell? I just put the goddamn BIOS on, man. Here we go. BIOS loading. Or better yet, the little intro. But I don't have high hopes for this though. Well, that pretty much answers that question. That was kind of corny. Oh my God. Oh shoot. And the lag is terrible because it's taking longer to be able to make turns. This doesn't seem like it's worth trying to even continue because it's too bad of lag that I'm experiencing, and it's already hard enough to make these turns, and then the music and audio is it just sounds like it's just stuttering all together. And I couldn't stand how bad that the audio was crackling and how bad it was stuttering. So I just wanted to quit that altogether. We got PlayStation 1, which I'm presuming this will play PlayStation 1 pretty well. But one game that I do want to try out though is Crash Bandicoot. I hadn't played it in a minute. Yeah. Man, I got the BIOS on here. I don't know why I keep tripping trying to tell me I ain't got the BIOS. But there you have it. Sounds like PlayStation is going to run really well on this. Because I don't hear any crackling, no stuttering. See? Booga booga. Oh, that little mask, man. Yeah. All right, cool. I said I was going to do just Dreamcast was going to be the last one, but let's try the PSP. Just want to see what kind of game can we get working on here. And what we're going to do is, I want to do God of War Chains of Olympus. That way it can give us an idea as to how bad this handheld can handle PSP. Because God of War Chains of Olympus is a hard game for emulators to run. Let's do normal. Yeah. As you can see, it's like a stuttering mess. And it's hard to even see because of how small the screen is. Yeah, I'm good. I can't do this, man. It's unbearable, the frame rate. Yep. All right, now, last but not least, I like this little jam right here, though. That's one little nice touch I can give the Newly crew credit for. Adding music, especially this hi-fi, lo-fi, whatever, hip-hop. There we go. Okay. Okay. Dreamcast looks like it's pretty capable. And it looks like it's not even skipping a beat. It's running like it's supposed to. Oh wow. There was a vibration in the controller. I didn't realize this even had any vibration motors in it. Alright, cool. I think I'm done for the day. I think I had enough gaming. So, I hope you guys learned something today. So as I wrap up this video, feel free to let me know in the comments what were your thoughts about the presentation I gave. If you're interested in this type of content related to cheap Chinese retro handhelds, hit the subscribe button down below and click the bell icon to turn on all your notifications so you don't miss a thing. And also, if you made it this far into the video, I want to sincerely thank you for watching. So until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and share. Again, this is Frank Mula signing out. Holla at me.